what I would give to be able to hear my husband snoring. The next panel shows they're sleeping at night and she's listening to this guy snoring like it's music. So again, what she did is just change the whole implication of what this snoring behavior meant by a comparison. The snoring was exactly the same as it always was. The question is, compared to what? And again, that's reframing. All of a sudden you go, well, I guess this isn't so bad. For example, in one of the, when we get into some of the sleight of mouth patterns, it's one of the ways that Richard used to deal with things when people would say, oh, you say mean things. He'd say, well, if I didn't say mean things, how is this person going to learn how to deal with reality? You think that the world is full of people saying nice things to you? I mean, I'm the only one that's really giving them the opportunity to check out their abilities. Or you might say, well, if I wasn't saying mean things to them, I'd be doing mean things. So aren't you glad I'm only saying them, So again, well, in comparison, I'm really a good person. So the point, though, is comparisons are another strategy. So I can use meanings, chains of meanings to shift your perception of something, or to solidify it, by the way. I can solidify it by saying this means that, which is also positive. So these things actually begin to form a very positive belief system. I can do it by chains of causes, that this is caused by that is caused by that. So therefore, if I change this cause, the others will change naturally. I can do it by saying if it's negative and I put it in a positive context, or if I'm trying to challenge the belief, where the person is saying, oh, I have to do this because it's such a positive thing. Because sometimes people will force themselves into limiting experiences because it's successful. Well, this has always been successful, I need to do it. And you can show that it's going to lead to something negative, or it's coming from something that's negative. That, again, changes your perspective on it. It puts a different frame around it. And then comparisons. Now this final strategy of how to influence beliefs is changing logical levels. Now the definition here says that basically if I have something which is a member of a larger set, the rules for dealing with the two are different. So for example, what that means is that the fact that I have a light, let's say I have a piece to a car, and this piece is very light. It doesn't mean that the car is going to be light because the piece is light. In other words, what holds true for the part of the car, doesn't necessarily hold true for the whole car. And that's what a logical level is about. It says what's true for a part of something is not necessarily true for the whole thing itself. And what I find, and you'll see that it's listed here, and there's the next 2 pages on this, is, because I think it's very, very important in terms of working with beliefs, that there's a fairly typical set of logical levels in human behavior that you will find yourself dealing with all the time. And I call this the ABCs of NLP. So A, highest logical level, is what I am, my identity. Beliefs about what I am are the most important. Now, B is beliefs themselves. So what I am, my identity is actually bigger than my beliefs, because what I am is composed of my beliefs. So A is what I am, A for am. B is what I believe, B for believe. C is for what I'm capable of. Now what I am capable of is categorized by my beliefs. So for example, if I say, I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer, that's an identity statement. If I say, neuro-linguistic programmers are powerful people, now that's a belief. It's not dealing with myself. It's saying, neuro-linguistic programmers have these capabilities. Powerful people. Now I go to capabilities. Well, what are the capabilities of a neuro-linguistic programmer? Well, they can anchor people. They can use sleight of mouth. They can change strategies. Those are all capabilities. It's a smaller set. And then the next one, D, is what do I do? So what I do is my specific behaviors. So the fact that I'm capable of anchoring somebody, or I'm capable of changing a strategy, still, what exactly, specifically, do I do with somebody? And E is what is the environment. So these are different levels of occurrences. If you go to the third page, we might as well do this to get some of the examples straight right here. You see it says examples of statements at different logical levels. And I really like for you to pay attention to these, because these will make, I think, whether you're using sleight of mouth or not, these logical levels can really help you to sort out things that you might find are stuck places for you in your work with other people or with yourselves. So for example, let's say a student does poorly on a spelling test. I can make an environment statement. I can say, well, the noise in the room made it difficult to take this test. This doesn't even relate to you at all. I'm talking about the environment made it difficult to learn. It doesn't have to do with you at all. So, boy, that's really safe. So that's an E. That's the lowest level. I can then come to a specific behavior level, which is I can say, you did poorly on the spelling exam. It's one exam. This is a behavior. I can code it as a behavior. I can refer to it as a capability. I mean, I could say all these things, same things to a student that's done poorly on the exam. I can take the capability, you're not very good in spelling. Now notice that goes beyond just this particular spelling exam. That generalizes to your capability of spelling. That's a different logical level. It's a bigger level. I can go to a belief level. I can say, if you can't spell well, you can't get into college. I mean, now we're starting to talk about things that expand. This is not just whether you're a good speller or not. This has to do with other things in your life, where I could say, you can't spell well. You're not a good student. And that's an even bigger belief. And finally, I can go to identity, which is, you're stupid, or you're learning disabled. Now, I could make all of those same statements based upon somebody's performance on an exam, and notice the impact that it has as you climb those levels. The largest impact is when I go, you are this way. This says something about you. You're a stupid person or a learning disabled person. It's not so bad to say, well, well, don't worry, girls don't spell as well as boys or something. That's a belief statement, or vice versa. But it's still a belief. It relates it to a category of you being a girl. Or if I say cause-effect, if you can't spell, you can't go to college. I mean, that starts to affect, it's still a pretty big area of experiences. If I code it just as a capability, you're not very good in spelling, well, that's kind of bad, but at least it's not as horrible as ruining your life or something. Specific behavior, well, so I did poorly on this exam, so what? I can maybe do better on the next one. And if it's the environment, well, it doesn't even have anything to do with me. It was caused by something outside of me. Those are very powerful differences. And one of the things that you're going to find is that the way in which you respond to people along these lines is going to determine the impact that your statement has. And your beliefs about these things are also going to make a difference. In other words, if it's a belief about your identity, that's different than a belief about your profession. And that's different than a belief about your family or a belief about something that's going to happen this week. And so those become real important things. I think they really can help you to recognize why things can have a different impact. And this whole sleight of mouth maneuver, then, is if I can take something and change which level it's on by recategorizing it verbally, that's going to change the person's whole reaction to it. So if somebody goes, God, I'm a learning disabled because I'm slow at learning things, I can say, no, it's not that you're slow, it's just that you're very thorough in your learning. So what I've done is I've used the sleight of mouth pattern to recategorize a capability. If I can say, well, being a slow